What's going on, Evenant? Big Jer, back with you again. And today we're going to be finishing up this mix. So, in the last video, we talked about OTT. Now we understand how to make our sounds nice and even. In the previous video, we went into cutting our low frequencies, tuning our drums or anything we bring in, and gain staging, making all our sounds nice and, their fullest potential before we bring them into our mix. Great. So one more thing we're going to do before we get into my fourth rule or thing to look out for. I want to do two things with this sub, okay? I want to go ahead and add a little sub drop, and I could do this one of two ways. I have a sub drop one shot just hanging out right here. Nope, this one. Cool. Or we could just make one from what we have, and I'll do that since you probably want to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the root note, which is right here. Okay, and I'm going to just Command E to copy, Command E to cut, and then Command C to copy. And then I'll just go right where I want to put it, which is here, and I'll paste it right in. So what I want to do is I want to try to make it last this long, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here, and they've got this double or half thing right here. So I'm going to go ahead and double it, boom, and now it's twice as long. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and Command J so I can make it its own clip. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to switch it from beats mode to tones, turn that up a bit, right? So now we should have a nice, even, long note. Even though we stretched it out, it's nice and even. So we're going to go ahead and Command J it so it's its own clip. And we will go ahead and pitch it down. So what I'm going to do is actually pitch it up an octave, right? And we'll go into here, go into our transpose, and we'll actually bring it down an octave. Okay, let's see how that feels. Okay. Perfect. And then we'll bring our fade back so it's actually like a boom. Love that. And we can go ahead and Command J that one more time. Oh, look at that. We're 2 dB kind of over, so I'll bring it down and I'll Command J it just one more time. And you know what? You can name this sub drop. And I know it's an F, and now you've got, and this is, start making your own sub drops if you want. So there you go, a little tip on how to make sub drops. Cool. So I like that there. Let's cool. Good, and I think I wanted one more maybe over here. Cool, sub drop. Now, the next thing I wanted to do to my sub is add a little bit of saturation. It's always a good idea. So we'll grab a saturator, and you always put the saturator before the EQ because it does add harmonics. So if I put it over here afterwards, it would just add a bunch of harmonics back. So I'm going to go ahead and switch it to soft sine. These are just different flavors of saturation. The one thing I will call your attention to, though, is this. If I give it like a little bit of drive, not even much, but watch this. This is the part to check out. So if I move it to the right, you could see how it moves where it's saturating it. Actually, to hear that, let me turn this off. Okay. So there we go. That's the saturation point there. But we want to go the other way. So over here, it's the key. Nice. Put this guy. There we go. So without it, with it. A huge difference. And we are clipping just a little bit. So we will kind of just, maybe put a utility there to kind of cut down. There we go. So we're not going in the red. Good. So good. It really helps give that sub a little bit of a nose. Perfect. So this brings us up to the next thing that we're going to talk about. Next thing we're going to talk about is mixing narrow to wide. Okay, so we've obviously been talking about stacking the right sounds on top of each other, mixing the frequencies. So, you know, if there's a low sound, that'll mix nice with a medium sound, like a mid-range sound, and that'll mix nice with like a high sound, obviously, right? So you can stack all three of those on top of each other, but it'll be hard to stack like three basses on top of each other at the exact same time because they're all filling the same spectrum. So cool. It's cool to mix like, you know, top to bottom or bottom to top, you know, frequency wise. But also now I want you to think of like mid to side or narrow to wide. Okay, cool. And I actually made a little rack for us. So for example, let's kind of see about these guys right here. So if I bring this pulsar up, we can see that this lead and this art melody are a little bit conflicting, right? And this drone in the background is a little bit conflicting with, well, everything, because it's just taking up a lot of space. So now let's talk about how we can kind of make all of these work while we're thinking about mixing narrow to wide. So that means we're going to assign some of these sounds to be more narrow and some of them to be more wide so we can hear everything evenly. Great. So let's go to the drone and we're going to pull down our utility. So now when going from wide to narrow, we could use a utility and just go down to the width. And what this will do is just kind of, you know, bring everything in until it's mono. Okay. So let's go ahead and just let's bring this in maybe all the way to mono. Let's just see how this sounds if we lose too much. So you hear how much more like in the center it is. So you might be like, oh, but it sounds better wider. Well, sure, because it's taking up more space. But when I start mixing other things in, you will see how the focus will be better to have this narrow, I think, in my opinion. So now that that's a little bit more narrow, right? And I'm experiencing a lot of, well, lower frequencies here. This is where it feels like it is, even though I've done some cutting there. So I want to try to stack this with the pulsar. Great. And they're kind of bleeding into each other a little bit. So let's go ahead and talk about mixing something wide, right? So here's my pulsar. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my user library and I've got my Evenant kind of folder here. And I've got you guys some instrument racks that I'm going to actually include for you. I'll probably put it in that pack as well. Cool. So check this out. I've got myself a spreader rack. Okay. I'm going to pull this guy right in and just put it right first, okay, right in front of the OTT. And what this is going to do is a couple of different things. It's a you know, we've got some devices inside of here, but basically what this is going to do is you could mono the sound going in, and then we could spread it, okay, and then we could see how much we want to spread it. So here I'll kind of show you what I mean. So let's go to the pulsar. This is regular. Everything's kind of just at the bottom. There we go. That's regular. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and turn the mono up. And it's fine. I like it mono. So what's coming in, so basically what's happening is we're bringing the sound in and we're making it mono. And from there, we're going to split it. Okay, and we're going to send it out the left side like immediately, and then we're going to send it out the right side. Well, I have the control of the time right here, but anywhere from 15 milliseconds will cause like the Haas effect. And the Haas effect basically says that when you hear two sounds within 15 milliseconds of each other, they sound like one sound. So we're going to go ahead, like I said, and send it to the left and then to the right so fast that we hear one really wide sound, but also creating a hole in the middle for another sound. Okay, so we're going to go over here, and this last little section here is like after it's already wide, like we've created that space left, right. Now I can kind of bring that in if I want a little bit and shape that like, you know, that spread that I have. So that's pretty much how this rack works, and it works on like every sound. The thing I will say is some sounds sound better in mono when you do this spread, and some of them sound better, you know, as they were. So, you know, if you have it down here, it's going to be mono, and if you have it all the way up, it's going to be like it was, right? So again, some of them sound better when you spread them in their stereo state. Some of them sound better when you spread them mono. So, you got to use your ear and see which one sounds better to you. So for this sound, I think it sounds better when I leave it up like this, or somewhere in the middle. Great. And then we could see about the spread time. I like that. All right, let's see how that sounds stacked with the drone. You know what? I don't really like this, so let's get rid of that. And we'll kind of just have this guy. Much better. And if I put a little tail on it, it will be a lot less intrusive. All right, great. So now these guys are working together. I'm digging it. Now let's mix in the lead. So let's get this guy and bring him in a little bit, a little more mono, okay? I think I want to make that like pretty mono. And maybe a little EQ to help. All right, and let's see about this guy. So this one will definitely want to make a little bit wider, right? Stack it on top of that pulsar. Give it like make it feel like it's like one thing, you know? So let's grab our spreader again. And I want to make these guys kind of work together. So I want this spreader to go on only after its little intro thing here. So we'll turn that off. Well, maybe just off for that section. So there we go. And also what I think would be cool here is if we put maybe an auto pan on this and it only turned on for this one section here. Cool, love that. So it only turns on for the one section. So nice. Okay. They are now the music. I think everything is not fighting with each other and sounds pretty good. That is exactly what I did to get this orchestral group together. And we're going to do that a little bit here too, to get these guys to kind of sit in a bit. So I think with everything else in the mix, I'm going to spread this guy a bit wide. So I'm going to just go ahead and play up on that. There we go. It sounds better there. Oh, that's like so much different. Check this out. Like right there, that's kind of muddy, and that's kind of right in the middle of everything, you know. But when I do this, wow, bro, that just puts it in its own location. And this is why mixing narrow to wide is so important, because people just don't think about this. This is like a very, very important thing that just goes overlooked a lot. And it just makes everybody the star. You see what I'm saying? Nobody has to take the back seat if everybody has a little bit of the stage. Very cool. So this one I want to make a bit more mono, because I think when it happens, it's just like a focal moment. So it should be kind of more in the center to kind of take up, you know, the space, where this is big, but there's a whole lot of stuff happening almost every time these hits happen, you know. Cool. So let's grab the utility, bring it on down, and let's see about bringing this guy in a bit. And I want to do a little emphasis here. Dope. Dope. Feeling that. Cool. Loving that. And let's see about Dumbo. I think since this guy is so wide, I think we're going to bring Dumbo in just a bit. Actually, let's just make a mono. Sometimes with these, it's good to just pick one side, left or right. So let's instead of folding it into itself, let's try to pick one side. See how there's no difference between left and right side? So that just well, not much anyway. So that means I'm just going to pick one. Let's just see if I put it in stereo. Actually, I like it folded a little bit. It sounds more controlled. So here we go. See, that sub drop sounds really nice there. All right. So mixing narrow to wide has really helped our bass effects sit in. Well, it helped me absolutely get this stack for you here. And it absolutely helped us mix these instruments. Okay. Sub is going to want to be pretty mono, right? So let's just grab a utility, and anything that's sneaking through, actually we could just use this one here. Anything that's sneaking through will just force into the center. Actually, the crash, I think I'm going to, let me see this. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and use our spreader rack on the crash. Yes, that's exactly what I want. Okay, very cool. Great, that's going to make that stand out a lot more. And let's see these. Let's bring these hi-hats a bit in, I think. Okay. And the booms, we're definitely going to bring them in a bit as well. Focus their center. Cool, dig that. And I think the epic hits. Let's spread these guys out a bit, right? Might as well make these two work together a bit more. Yeah, that's way bigger. Cool. Let's hear these two together. Perfect. I'm going to actually kick this up a bit. Perfect. So I think that our wide to narrow is sounding, or narrow to wide is sounding really good. Let's give this a listen in its completion, and then we'll go into one more video on the final tip, and then we'll have a mastering video, and we'll call it a day. I mean, we're killing it. All right, let's check this out, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. You guys are doing great. While you listen to this, listen to how you can now hear everything and less things are fighting.